Well, welcome. You are watching The Human Resource. Well, I've got one of my favorite people on the show today. Absolute favorite. And very truthfully, I could not think of a better person to come on for the topic that we're going to discuss. Today, we've got Scott Warrick. And if you've seen any of my shows, you know that I absolutely love this man. An attorney, HR consultant, been around forever. He's one of my number one mentors. And I have to thank him almost every day for something that he has shown me over the last, Scott, you've been working, you've been coaching me, you've been training me for at least 15 years.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I've known you for ever, and that's the thing. It's kind of funny. This is my 41st year in human resources, going back to when I had hair, and but you just gotta love this stuff, and if not, go do accounting or engineering. There's a place for everybody. But no, I just love this part of it because there's so much to know in this field, which you know firsthand, Pandy. This is not the field for the nice, happy, feel-good people. I used to get folks applying for HR positions that had backgrounds in social work. And I like people. Like, well, then you're going to hate this job.
No,
All right?
I'm a people person. That's what I used to get the biggest kick out of. But I'm such a people person.
Yeah, and actually 90%, 95% of everybody, they're just great. They're wonderful. You and I make our living off the 5 and 10 percenters, which just, I mean, they stir up the world. And I will tell you, Pandy, I went back to law school, not to practice law, which I do now, but I went back because everything in the late 80s and early 90s was becoming so legalistic. I thought I needed that just to keep up. And this has done nothing but even get faster and more complicated. And I'll tell you, the chances an employer is going to try to do the right thing and get their fingers blown off are actually very, very good these days.
Well, and that's why I wanted to have this show. You and I do a lot of reading. We've talked about the amount of time that we have to spend and invest in keeping up with all these changes and all these complications. And, 15 years ago, well, even sooner than that, we didn't have to worry about everything from a national perspective. But
Right.
more and more and more, we're seeing a major organization or presence in employment law become more influential and cause more turmoil in the decisions they're making. And that, of course, is the National Labor Relations Board. And
yes.
viewers, that's why I've brought Scott on today. Some things happened here recently, and I want him to walk you through this mind-boggling this world that we are in right now with this general counsel under the Biden administration. And the first one I want to really kind of go over is the case of Home Depot. Scott, walk the viewers through just how impactful this decision was and why they need to start paying attention.
Right. And this gets down, let me just explain, because usually if I say Title VII or the Americans with Disabilities Act or FMLA, people's antennas go right up. But when I say National Labor Relations Act, everybody's like, what?
Yeah.
What's that? Never even heard. Okay. That was the very first major piece of legislation that Franklin Delano Roosevelt got through. And this was 1935. Okay. So we're talking 25 years before I was even born. All right. So that gives employees the rights to unionize. Now, keep your antennas up there if you are non-union, because employees have a right to talk about the wages, terms, and conditions of employment, which is pretty much everything, to complain about you. Because they might want to complain about management. They might want to complain about the company and form a union. So you see, if you are non-union, that applies to you. All right. So National Labor Relations Act is for private sector employers. Public sector in the states, they pass their own legislation. And for instance, here in Ohio, we have the State Employee Relations Act, which mirrors the NLRA. Okay, well, employees have a right of free speech. Now, let me clarify this. These are the employees who could form a union. All right. Management does not count. Most first line supervisors are part of the union. They could unionize because they don't really have the authority to do anything. So I've got several union organizing drives going on right now, and I'm teaching the supervisors and managers, this is what you can say, this is what you can't say, this is what the employees are allowed to say. Now, most of those supervisors are actually going to be able to vote in the union because they don't really have enough authority to get into really the classification management. So I have a right to say horrible things about you. Now, when I say horrible things, I'm trying to use as few four-letter words as humanly possible. All right. So cussing out your supervisor, for the most part, for the National Labor Relations Board, that's okay. That's okay.
No, wait a minute, Scott. And I love where you're going with this because how many viewers, how many times have you looked at an employee and said, "Oh, he's just being insubordinate"? Yeah. We want him out of here because he's being insubordinate. And Scott, dive in from that direction of just how sensitive this is.
Oh yeah, insubordination. And I'll tell you right now, I'll bet you 98% of all of the business owners and managers listening to this right now, your handbooks are illegal. This is, if you have not updated your handbook, and let me also stress this, it's, we've got corporate attorneys, God love them. I got attorneys that work on bonds, God love them. You would better get a labor attorney.
Oh, they have heard me say this a million times. Yep.
Oh, it's kind of funny because I'll go and teach employment attorneys labor law. Now, understand, I've belonged to 2 unions. I've been a labor attorney, meaning union, my whole life. Okay. And then I went to law school and specialized in it. So what else is illegal? They're allowed to cuss you out. Your respect policies are illegal. You have to treat each other in a professional manner. That is illegal. Yeah, it is an unfair labor practice because employees are allowed to complain about you. So under this National Labor Relations Board, and let me explain, the President of the United States, whoever the president is, gets to appoint the National Labor Relations Board, which are the 5 grand poobahs. All right. They decide how the National Labor Relations Act is going to be interpreted. Well, the truth of the matter is the unions donate millions of dollars to get Democrats elected. And I don't want to get political, but I will tell you right now, it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody out there that the Democratic Party is pro-union, the Republican Party is pro-management. Okay, so who is ever in power controls the National Labor Relations Board. Well, Biden's in power, he controls the NLRB. And they have decided that if you have a policy in place that says you have to treat people with respect, you have to treat supervisors and the company with respect, that on its face is an unfair labor practice, and they can file against you with the NLRB. You are now, as of last year, liable for their attorney's fees and any type of other compensatory damages. So you really need to stop and think about this. How are you supervising your people? And they can go on Facebook. And we've got cases where an employee is upset with the supervisor. So the employee goes home and uses a string of F-bombs and all kinds of other bombs and things like this that are lurid, and even about the guy's family. And the National Labor Relations Board said, well, you were pretty hostile towards that employee, so it's all fair game.
And so I know I've got viewers out there that are going, what is going on? This is why we're trying to share this information with you. We're not saying this is right. What we are saying, and what Scott's trying to put an emphasis on here, is that we know for a fact, Scott and I know for a fact, that your business owners or your senior leadership is not thinking in these terms. They are not, sometimes they're not even emotionally prepared to accept this as reality. All they know is they are not going to be disrespected. And this is the part that I want you to really kind of focus on. Let's go back to Home Depot.
Right.
Somebody walks in. Yeah, somebody walks in and has a BLM. We all know what that means. T-shirt, and everybody. Some people get offended. What does the National Labor Relations Board say?
Well, they're allowed to wear that to work. Okay, so you think about this. This is a really good example. Okay, you can't single the union out, and employees have a right of free speech. And now understand, rank and file people who could form the union. So anything that affects the wages, terms, and conditions of employment affects those employees. So great example. I decide that, hey, I'm allowed to wear a Cincinnati Reds t-shirt to work. I'm allowed to wear a Jesus Died for Me t-shirt to work. So guess what? You can't single out Black Lives Matter. And actually, more than that, if one of your employees wanted to wear to work a shirt that says Union Now, they can do that.
That's a big one. Keep stressing that, because we're gonna, if it's a hot button, you're gonna have an employee somewhere in there that's gonna want to push it.
It'll be it'll be one of your problem people too.
Yeah.
Your good employees don't do this. Now understand too, I got a client that we're going to be doing training for, because there's an organization in Northern Ohio, and understand, people vote for the union. All this is designed to set employers up so that you will step on one of these landmines. And I will tell you, I've not seen a legal handbook in the last 6 months.
No.
They're all illegal. And so you get an unfair labor practice, you're going to have to pay a bucket load of money. And I'll tell you, a labor attorney, pure labor, $600, $700, $800 an hour. And so you are going to pay that to the other side. If you get caught in this stuff, then you're going to have to post a poster in your workplace about yay big, 15 inches by 8 inches, something like that, that says that you are mean, evil, terrible people. You violated the employees' rights to unionize. And you got to post that. You got to say you're sorry. Okay, say you're sorry. Then the union shows up, and they will find someone on the inside that you should. Now, here's a big point, that you should have been coaching, warning, and firing.
Yeah.
Till now. Now, that, if you've seen, and Pandy, I mentioned this yesterday. Great example. If you ever watched the movie Office Space,
yes,
you got Jennifer Aniston just not wearing enough flair. Okay, all these buttons and stuff. If you let people wear buttons, you have to let them wear a button, vote union. If you let somebody wear a Christian cross, you've got to let them wear a Steelworkers Now. You've got to, you kind of see, the whole thing is designed to unionize 30 to 40% of America's workforce, and that's you. So this Home Depot case is actually a part of a long line of cases that have happened in the last 7-8 months. And I'll promise you, every year I do legal update, about 6 hours of stuff that just happened in the previous year. 2 hours of it was just National Labor Relations Act this year.
Yeah.
So
and the general counsel is not going to stop. I was reading an article the other day where she's literally working really hard to permit moonlighting to such an extent that, again, going back to your handbook, if any of you have in your handbook that you can't work somewhere else, you have to stay focused with us. We're your primary focus.
Right.
She's going to try to eliminate that, and she's not discreet or quiet about her feelings. The National Labor Relations Board is an entity that you need to be aware of. And we're running short on time, but please understand what Scott's trying to tell you is don't be rash in your decisions to terminate someone because they're acting disrespectful, they're acting insubordinate. I even tell my clients, and Scott, I know you're doing the same thing with yours, somebody just disappears and ghosts. Do not fire them because of job abandonment until you have made every effort to talk to them and find out if they left because of a safety issue or because of a compensation issue or because of being harassed. And you won't know that unless you ask them, talk to them, and try to get a clear departure.
Boy, yeah. Yeah,
Look.
you hit it right on the head there, Pandy. And let's just make this really clear. It's really interesting. Understand, employees who are not unionized have unionization rights. So I'll hear this all the time. Why these people have walked off the job? What'd you do? I fired them. They went on strike. Well, they can't go on strike. They're not union. No. If you're union, if you are union, then the contract says when you can go on strike. So that's regulated. Okay. If you are non-union and you get some employees who walk off the job or won't come to work because of, like you said, a safety issue or money issue, that's a strike. You've just violated the National Labor Relations Act. And I will tell you right now, you're going to lose that.
But you can always call Scott to defend you, because
I'll tell you,
if anybody could, it could be him. Big topic, but an important topic. And remember, always available. If you have any interest in learning more about this topic or any of them that Scott provides training on, please reach out at Scott Warrick. Scott, show me your book. Come on, turn around, show your book.
Well, that's the brain book.
There you go.
And everything, this is because I'll tell you, if you go to my website, I'm a PTSD survivor, about 85% cured. What the NLRA is being interpreted by the NLRB, the board, is going to absolutely destroy your brain.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for showing. Scott, I love you. You're coming in for the next episode or the next show. So viewers, if you love hearing him, watch us again next week at The Human Resource.